Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Davis County Fiscal Court. This is our regular Thursday, October 5th, 2023 meeting to order. And Commissioner Casson, if you would lead us in the prayer and the pledge, please.
Sure. Thank you. Please bow your head and pray with me. God in heaven, as we come before you today, we thank you for the many opportunities this day brings to serve our community while also serving you. Thank you for the challenges and opportunities you send us each day that allow us to be a reflection of your love and faithfulness to everyone we encounter. Thank you for allowing us to live in a country where we are free to disagree with others, but please help us to grow in our understanding of one another while respecting our differences, knowing that each of us is unique and created in your likeness. Thank you for the much-needed rain as it helps give life to all that grows, and please watch over our fall break travelers as they travel in this rain. We ask that you bless the leaders of our community, whether they are formal or informal leaders, to have the wisdom and strength for guiding us in a direction that leads us to you. And finally, as we recognize this month as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we ask for your loving touch on all those who endure the pains and challenges illness brings. Please give us the strength to carry us through these times and to continue our faithful journey in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Caslen. See, our Senator Boswell is with us. Welcome this evening, sir. Brooke.
1. Consideration for presentation. A. Proclaim the month of October of 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Condor, if you wouldn't mind reading that one.
The proclamation from the Judge Executive's office, I'll be more than glad to. Whereas domestic violence is a behavior pattern used to establish power and control over another through fear, intimidation, and abuse. And whereas annually 1 in 4 men experience domestic violence and 1 in 3 women will experience it in their lifetime. And whereas domestic violence does not discriminate, affecting all races, ages, genders, and income levels, according to HUD, domestic violence is the 3rd leading cause of homelessness among U.S. families. And whereas 2 of 3 female murder victims are killed by a family member or intimate partner, and children living in violent, abusive homes are likely to suffer from physical and emotional health issues and difficulties in school. And whereas annually America spends $37 billion on domestic violence-related medical expenses, sheltering and foster care, law enforcement, legal costs, sick leave, absenteeism, and low employee productivity. And whereas 1 in 15 children witness domestic violence annually in the U.S., without a coordinated community effort to end this heinous crime, girls witnessing domestic violence are more vulnerable to abuse, and witnessing boys are likely to become perpetrators themselves, thus continuing the cycle of violence. And now, therefore, I, Charlie Caslen, Davis County Judge Executive, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to support and show appreciation to the many local agencies, volunteers who provide protection, advocacy, and assistance to victims. Presented in Davis County, Kentucky, this 5th day of October, 2023, signed Charlie Caslen, Davis County Judge Executive. And I believe we do have Andrea Robinson here to be able to accept. And so if we wish to go down, present it to her, and take some pictures. Yes?
Let's do that.
There we go.
And then you can say a few words.
we go. 3, 2, 1. Let me try one more. 3, 2, sorry. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was the.
I want to offer a sincere thanks to Fiscal Court for an ongoing level of support for the work that we do. It makes a difference every day. Thank you for your continued financial support and just support when we need to talk things through or acknowledge the work that we're doing on behalf of survivors. This past year, the state of Kentucky experienced 18 murders related to domestic violence. 14 of those were related to gun violence. One of those was here in our own city, in Owensboro, Kentucky, a 16-year-old girl who was killed by her ex-partner. So we have a lot of work to do. Prevention is necessary. We want to work with the schools. We continue to try to do all that we can to spread the word. But we want to thank you for all of your support. We want to ask that everybody wear purple in the month of October in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we also want to thank Fiscal Court and Jerry for lighting up the courthouse tomorrow at dusk. So we'd like to be here for photo ops, but in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we thank you for your continued support and look forward to a continued collaboration. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for all that you do in our community in this realm. It's sad that we have to even talk about it, but we all know it's very real. So thank you. You're welcome. Any comments from the commissioners? Next item, Brooke.
B, proclaim October 4th of 2023 as 10-4 Awareness Day.
So this one's for me to read. Whereas children under age 4 are at a high risk of serious physical injury or death as a result of child abuse, and whereas Kentucky has doubled the national rate of substantiated child victims of abuse under age 1, and whereas research from pediatricians has led to a tool called the 10-4 Faces bruising rule, to help identify bruising in areas that are cause for concern on children younger than 4 years of age. And whereas 10-4 Faces P says that any bruising before a child who is not yet pulling up or taking steps, especially those 4 months of age and younger, and any bruising on the torso, ears, and neck, that's where the 10 comes from, as well as the frenulum, angle of jaw, cheeks, eyelids, subconjunctiva, and that's where the faces comes from. And pattern bruisings are significant red flags for child abuse and need to be reported. And whereas Kentucky requires the training of certain professionals, such as nurses, doctors, social workers, and first responders on this rule within the pediatric abusive head trauma training. But it is imperative to have as many adults as possible ready to identify these concerning bruises. And whereas Family Nurturing Center and the Co-Share for Kids Face It movement are leading a campaign to end child abuse that aims to bring awareness to the 10-4 Faces P bruising rule with a traditional and social media campaign and educational events on the days surrounding October 4th, 10-4, on 10-4. And whereas the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky forensic pediatricians and their teams are providing trainings the week of October 4, 2023, for free to educate about the bruising rule, to identify abuse early, as well as share tips for prevention. Now therefore, I, Charlie Casson, Davis County Judge Executive, do hereby proclaim October 4, 2023 as 10-4 Awareness Day, presented in Davis County, Kentucky, this 5th day of October 2023, signed and sealed, Charlie Casson, Davis County Judge Executive. And do we have anybody here this evening for this? Okay, so they will come and pick this up later. Again, it's truly with a heavy heart that I read that one, to even think of our most innocent children suffering abuse. So, and not that it's good no matter what your age is. It's a very sad thing. Next item, Brooke.
2, consideration for approval. A, minutes of the September 19th, 2023 Davis County Fiscal Court meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. We've all had the minutes for several days to review. If you have any corrections, adjustments, or deletions. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
B, all claims for all departments.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. Again, we've had the claims to review. All the bills due and payable by Davis County Fiscal Court. Are there any questions of our treasurer? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
C, Fiscal Court Year 23 to 24, AmeriCorps Host Agency Agreement benefiting the Homeless Coalition of Ohio Valley.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. For the past several years, Fiscal Court has sponsored the position of an AmeriCorps worker for the Homeless Coalition of Ohio Valley as the entity's agency funding. This program has proven beneficial for the coalition. It provides them an employee at a cost of $5,750. The agreement is for the program year September 1st of 23 through August 31st of 24. This is a budgeted expense, and I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
D, Fiscal Court Year 23-24, AmeriCorps Host Agency Agreement benefiting the Davis County Emergency Management Agency.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. Again, for the past several years, Fiscal Court has participated in the AmeriCorps program for the county's Emergency Management Agency. The department has been satisfied with the service and has reported that the employee provided has been greatly beneficial to their operations. The program supplies them with an employee at a cost of $5,750. This agreement is for the program year September 1 of 23 through August 31 of 24, and it is a budgeted item. I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Next item.
E, accept Fiscal Year 23-24 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, Program Award for the sheriffs.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion second. Mr. Johnson.
In August of this year, Fiscal Court approved a memorandum of agreement with the City of Owensboro regarding the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program. The county applies for the funding in odd-numbered years beginning this year, with the city applying for the funding in even-numbered years beginning in 2024. This year's program award must be accepted by Fiscal Court to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the related acceptance documents. 2023's JAG program funding will be used to replace computer and radio equipment as they relate to 911 communications and purchase a battery charging bank for the Davis County Sheriff's Department. The program funding totals $21,674. I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
F, Plan Year 2024 Health Insurance Premium Rates,
Motion to approve?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
These are the health insurance premium rates for plan year 2024 for employees of Davis County Fiscal Court. The Fiscal Court's health insurance is with the State of Kentucky Employees Health Plan, otherwise known as KEHP. Increases across various plans are minimal. If approved, my office will be issuing information about open enrollment, which will be from October 9th of 2023 through October 27th of 23 to all employees. The rates require fiscal court approval for payroll deduction purposes. I request your approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
G, accept renewal of city bid number 4230, bulk sodium chloride rock salt.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. This is the renewal of the cooperative bid conducted by the City of Owensboro that includes county rates and volumes. Our bid rate is $91.08 per ton, which is up 8.76% from last year's rate of $83.74 per ton. The City of Owensboro has approved their rate increase, and County Engineer Brasher and the Road Department Management believe that fiscal court's increase is reasonable and within our expected range. I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
H, memorandum of agreement between the City of Owensboro, Kentucky, and Davis County Fiscal Court to retain Carlton Hall Consulting, LLC, for strategic planning services regarding opioid settlement funds.
Motion to approve.
Second it.
Got a motion second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. On January 18th of 2023, the Alliance for Drug-Free Communities of Owensboro-Davis County Steering Committee unanimously approved a recommendation of the Resource Planning Subcommittee to engage in a strategic planning process facilitated by a consultant firm. The goal of this process being to develop a plan for opioid remediation in Davis County, Kentucky that would best utilize the opioid settlement funds received by the City of Owensboro and Davis County Fiscal Court for each entity's consideration. On July 19th of 23, the steering committee requested funding from the city and county in an amount not to exceed $25,000 to retain Carlton Hall Consulting, LLC, otherwise known as CHC, to facilitate the planning process and produce the opioid remediation plan. This agreement simply states that the city and county shall each pay $12,500 of that cost and will equally divide responsibility for paying any other incidental or reimbursable expenses charged by CHC. Legal and myself have reviewed it. We see no issues, and I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Yes, sir, Judge.
Commissioner Condor.
Thank you, Judge. Jordan, if you could, please, this is, I assume, some of the first monies that city and or county is going to be appropriating from the opiate settlement funds to be able to look down the road of how we're best going to use these funds. Just so the public is aware, there are other issues that will come up, and to use, hopefully, in this process that we can actually address. As an example, juvenile drug court, I think, is in need of some funds to go toward the family teaching programs that they have, to where people actually come in and they actually talk to mothers, fathers of how to be a parent. But it is administered through the juvenile drug court. So hopefully those type of programs will be included in this type of evaluation that we're about to get. So what's the timeline of when hopefully all of this will come back to us? Do you know that?
Yes, the timeline they have is 1 year to produce the strategic planning process plan.
1 year. Sounds like a lot, but thank you, sir. Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I, service agreement between the City of Owensboro, Kentucky, Davis County, Kentucky, and Carlton Hall Consulting, LLC, for strategic planning services regarding opioid settlement funds.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
In relation to the prior item, this is the service agreement between the city, the county, and the consultant firm, with the consultant firm's proposal included as Appendix A, which is incorporated as part of the agreement. The firm's proposal outlines the strategic planning process and what is to be delivered to the entities as a result of the project. As I stated earlier, the final report is estimated to be available within 12 months of contract award. The service agreement applies all legal and insurance requirements of the city and county to the proposal. Legal and myself have reviewed it. We see no issues, and I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
J, reject bid number 2324-20, one new full-size SUV 4x4 for engineering.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge, this bid was the provision of one new full-size SUV 4x4 for the engineering department as a vehicle to be utilized by the new assistant county engineer. The bids received had major exceptions to the specifications and/or exceeded the amount budgeted for this item. Since an alternative is available that meets all requirements and is within budget, which is presented in the next agenda item, we recommend rejection of all bids.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Commissioner Condor.
Just a comment, Judge, if it could. I believe we have someone that is sitting over to our right, a new assistant county engineer that might need to be recognized, and maybe the current county engineer can introduce him to the public.
Go ahead, Mr. Brasher.
Be glad to. This is Dirk Duper. Started last week, Monday, so this is the second week on the job. We look forward to having him.
Welcome. Thank you for correcting my oversight.
And I think we stole him from the city, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Yeah, we did. All right.
Are you trying to give us another headline?
Stirring the pot.
Stirring the pot.
Stirring it up. Just stirring it up.
So I think, are we ready for a vote, or are we ready for the next item? I think we need a vote. Yes, I got confused on that.
voted.
So I think we're ready for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And all opposed? No, there's no next item.
K, award bid number 2324-22, one new half-ton four-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck, engineering.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. While reviewing the prior item, Fleet Maintenance became aware of local availability of a few half-ton four-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck units that would meet all needs and requirements of the Assistant County Engineer's vehicle that was a budgeted item. We received 3 bids and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by B.F. Evans Ford for the 2023 Ford F-150 unit in the amount of $50,697.50. The exceptions were minor. The unit is within budget. B.F. Evans Ford is a known vendor, and I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? No. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those like sign, motion carries.
L, award quote for additional e-poll books to 10X Software Solutions clerks.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Johnson.
This quote is for 10 additional e-poll books and related equipment in the amount of $17,190 with an additional $1,350 per year in maintenance starting in year 2. And that maintenance portion would be in addition to our current agreement for the e-poll books the county purchased this year. As explained in February of 23's meeting, the state no longer supplies e-poll books to clerks' offices and instead requires the fiscal courts to purchase them, as we did via competitive bid, purchasing 90 units for roughly $120,000, all of which was reimbursed by the Department for Local Government. In the past, when the state supplied e-poll books, they would provide Davis County with 120 units. The clerk's office is experiencing difficulty with 30 fewer units than prior years, which is resulting in poll workers and staff having to share the units. Clerk McCarty believes the 10 additional units will bring sharing to a minimum. If the General Assembly provides funding for such items in fiscal year 24-25, as has been their practice for several years, we will have the option of seeking reimbursement as we have done in the past. I have reviewed this item and see no issues with the clerk's request.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Noes, like sign. Motion carries.
M, award quote for election equipment to Harp Enterprises Incorporated. Clerks.
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion second. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Judge, this quote is for 13 additional on-demand ballot printing units and auto ballot kits in the amount of $86,530. If an on-demand ballot printing unit is available at a voting location, a ballot judge can simply scan the barcode obtained by the voter upon check-in and automatically retrieve the individual's ballot, which removes several manual steps in the ballot retrieval process. This increased efficiency that this affords the clerk's office in conducting the election is the basis of their request. These quoted additions would allow for an extra unit to be located at each county voting location and 2 additional units at the highest volume city voting locations. Clerk McCarty has stated that these units will allow flexibility for the future as well in the event that additional voting sites become necessary. Again, if the General Assembly provides funding for such items in fiscal year 24-25, we can seek reimbursement. I've reviewed this item and see no issues with the request.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
No.
Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
N, hire Clinton Reynolds as service technician for the road department effective October 2nd of 2023.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Want to congratulate Mr. Reynolds on being hired and also thank him for agreeing to join our team. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
3, consideration for discussion. A, first reading of KLC 910.07, 2023, 11-2023, an ordinance relating to goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan.
This time I think we have Melissa Evans here with Planning and Zoning, if you'd like to speak to this issue.
Hi. Yes, so the goals and objectives are part of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is required to be updated every 5 years by Kentucky statute. So we are in that process currently of updating all of the comprehensive plan. The goals and objectives comes first. So once the goals and objectives have been adopted by all of the legislative bodies in our community, we will use that as a guide to then finish the update of the rest of the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission heard the goals and objectives at the September 14th meeting and recommended approval of those, so that's why they are here before you. Generally speaking, the revisions to the comprehensive plan this year are pretty minor. We have added some things at the request of Davis County Fiscal Court to include rural communities and the development in rural communities within the comprehensive plan goals and objectives. We've also included the promotion of agricultural industry out in the rural areas to promote that. So there's some things like that that are in there. Basically, the rest of the things are rewording of some items or renumbering of some items to have a more positive tone overall in the comprehensive plan goals and objectives, and then just fixing some, grammatical errors or different things that were in there. So there's not really a whole lot of changes to the goals and objectives that you have before you, but I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions of the commissioners for
Not for me.
Ms. Evans?
I have a few.
Okay. Mr. Marksberry.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
So I'm new to this and just trying to understand. So the goals and objectives, who writes this? Did you all come up with this on your own, or is it kind of like boilerplate type for all counties and cities, or just wanted to know, first of all, where it comes from?
Well, so the different sections that are included in there, the land use section or the economic section or the utilities section, those are required by state law that you have those different types of sections. As far as the body of those, they were created with the first establishment of the comprehensive plan for our community many years ago. And then every year we revise those, or every 5 years they are up for revision. They are sent to all of, you all received copies of those during the process when we first started looking at revising these. We hold public meetings to get public input on them. And then based off of the recommendations of Davis County Fiscal Court, the City of Owensboro, and the City of Whitesville, and whatever recommendations or revisions that you all wish for us to make in those, we make those. So the revisions that have been, most of the revisions that are part of the goals and objectives were at the request of Davis County Fiscal Court this year.
Okay. So like 4.3, protect rural areas from intrusion by incompatible urban activities, encouraging growth in the urban service area and the rural community. What would be like an incompatible urban activity? Can you just give me some example for that?
So incompatible uses is what that's talking about.
Right.
So if you had residential uses next to industrial uses. So that's where we use then these goals and objectives to update the land use portion of the comprehensive plan and the comprehensive plan map to guide rezonings in the future. So you wouldn't want, like I said, industrial uses right next door to residential uses. Those would be incompatible.
Okay. Over on, let's see there. Do you have a copy of that with you?
I do.
Okay, good. So 4.8, the goal says provide each resident a structurally sound, sanitary, and affordable dwelling unit.
Mm-hmm.
Who will be deciding what meets that criteria? The affordable, I guess, is what kind of jumped out at me more.
Well, so these are, the community's goals and objectives for the entire community, not just our office. Mm-hmm. So the goals that are in here are the community's goals. So everyone in the community, different agencies that are determining home values, so the PVA office maybe, or, rental agreements, those would all be considered in people that would enforce or determine what affordable, housing would mean.
So it would be other entities. It wouldn't be you all making that
Right.
determination.
Our office has nothing to do with
I just
the
want to make
cost
sure
of
I
anything.
understood the way it's worded. Because it also mentions in 4.9.4, encourage owner-occupied housing. And of course, we do have a lot of rental property, and I just wanted to be sure that doesn't mean that you would discourage people from owning rental property as well. Or
No.
Okay, great.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Larry, did you have anything to add?
I do, Judge, if Ms. Marchmayer is looking through
You
the
want
rest
to
of
finish
hers.
yours, or you want?
If he could go ahead, he might have the
Okay,
same
Commissioner
question.
Connor, go ahead.
Just number one, it seems as if from the comprehensive plan, as you alluded to, that it's been softened in wordage. For example, the word require or required is now replaced with encourage.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, to me, that is a very big difference of what we have had for such a long time. And the perfect example of that was the requirement of new businesses putting out their landscaping on the curbs or whatever the case may be, which has caused a lot of discussion. There's probably a good word for that, to be politically correct. But now the word is encourage, which is very different. So when you change words like that, from required to encourage, how do you do that? How do you now, because when you require it, here's the law, this is what it says, this is what you got to do. But now you're going to encourage someone to do that. So you just simply say, hey, it'll look good if you put up some plants. What's your ideas to do that? Is that what you really are going to try to do?
Well, so
And that's just an example.
Right,
okay?
right. So the goals and objectives are the guide for the rest of the comprehensive plan, but also the zoning ordinance and the landscaping requirements specifically are requirements of the zoning ordinance. So by changing the word required to encourage, then gives more flexibility with potential changes that could come about to the text of the zoning ordinance. So text amendments that may come before you later. So there's sometimes, and some of these changes are changes to then allow future changes to other documents.
That's exactly where I was hoping this was going to go, that you can make that statement and it can be in our comprehensive plan, but if you don't change the law, doesn't matter. It just
Correct.
looks pretty is what it will look like, but you have to change the law in order to make it effective for everyone to be able to enforce is what you have to do. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Melissa,
You're
for
welcome.
that answer. That was great.
Commissioner Marksberry?
I think it's okay. Thank
You
you.
good? Okay. I want to just take a moment to thank you and Brian for your work with us on, and thank David too for his work on my side, for helping us to come up with the changes and guide us in how to do those changes. As Commissioner Marksberry pointed out, she's never gone through this process before. I've not ever gone through it as judge executive. So,
Right.
And I appreciate you correcting your earlier statement. You had said that this, I think you'd said this is an annual change, annual review, and then you corrected yourself and said it's every 5 years.
Yes, it is every 5 years.
So appreciate that for any of the public that might be watching. Before you might sit down, but I'm gonna ask, is there anybody from the public wishes to address this issue? No? Okay. But not about this? Well, then come on up. Welcome, Senator Boswell.
Good evening. Yes, I have some comments, but I'm going to very limit my comments. So I think Planning and Zoning is doing a great job. I think the new director and Melissa, I think they do a great job. But I just want to remind everybody that Planning and Zoning is limited sometimes with the rules that they're not limited, but they're required to follow the rules that the city and county make. Yes. And since you were talking about the landscaping, I'd like to talk just a little bit about that. To me, landscaping is probably one of the worst things we have on the book. But over the years, it's caused so many problems between what the Planning and Zoning requires by law, by regulation, and what people actually do. But I want to say this about that. We have beautiful subdivisions in our county, but none of them are required to have landscaping. But in our county, businesses are required to have a lot of landscaping, and it does cause problems. And when you require people to have things, they don't always take care of them. And so I want to remind the county government and you guys that even though we have rules that require landscaping, as far as I know, there are no rules that require you to maintain it. So if you drive around our beautiful city, you're going to see a lot of buildings, a lot of structures where the landscaping is just not taken care of. Now, I'm not asking you to go out and start penalizing all these people. I just want to remind you that I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think business owners, they have pride of ownership in their businesses just like homeowners do. And I think that we need to look at some of these strict landscaping laws. The only other thing I want to say, I've been calling for years for a comprehensive review of planning and zoning. Mm-hmm. For example, EX coal mining. For years and years and years ago, when I was county commissioner, it was very difficult to get a property zoned as mining. But after a number of years, they no longer want to mine that property. And we had this constant battle back years ago where we require somebody to have it rezoning back to non, and it should revert back. That should be a part of our discussions. We need rural subdivision regulations. Many counties have regulations that allow rural subdivisions. Warren County has rural regulations for subdivisions, which allow large lots, and it's got to be something that you have regulations for. And there's just so many things like overwhelming rules for remodeled existing structures. I just wrote a few things down. Signs. I think the sign ordinance is way too strict. I noticed recently, even though that our planning and zoning ordinance to say that you can't have off-premises signs, as far as I know, we are now promoting in our community, which I think is a great thing to do. Some of our things like the Bluegrass Museum and our convention center, we're putting out signs off premises, I might add, to advertise these things, and I think that's great. But a business in our community, as far as I know, can't put a sign off premises. Years ago, there was a meeting. There was a man named Army Armstrong, y'all know Army, and he said a business with no sign is a sign of no business. So I know you're not talking about all that today, but I would encourage you that I think that each section of this comprehensive plan over the next couple of years, it needs to be reviewed section by section. Some of these things are very unfriendly to people that are builders and other things, and I just encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments by the commissioners? Anyone else from the public? Hearing none. Next item, Brooke.
B, other business to be brought before Davis County Fiscal Court. There is none that I am aware of.
Okay.
C, public comments.
This is where the public is invited to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak to any item other than those items that have been covered on the agenda. No takers?
D, comments by Davis County Fiscal Court.
Let's see, who's up? Commissioner Marksberry.
I don't think I have anything else. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Condor.
Thank you, Judge. Just as Commissioner Castlin had said earlier in this prayer, everyone be safe on fall break. And one other item, next week, Thursday the 12th, I think through the 17th, Rosemary and I will be gone. We will be in Richmond, Virginia, attending a significant seminar with the Rich Harwood Institute. Rich is, with his group, has been in our community for a while and evaluating some of the things that we could do better in our community. So on our own, the taxpayer's not paying for anything here. This is on our own that we're going to travel to Richmond and spend 4 or 5 days with quote-unquote experts to be able to really bring back, hopefully, a better explanation of what they do, how they do it, and what we as a community can look forward in the next year for their initiative around here. So with that, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Castlin.
I don't have any. Thank you.
I'm gonna just read off of the minutes because it's coming right around the corner. A reminder, you want to do this one? You did it last meeting, Toxaway Day. Saturday, October 7, 2023 is Free Toxaway Day. You're encouraged to bring items to the Davis County Operations Center on Highway 81 between the hours of 8 a.m. to noon. A complete list of items, approved items, may be found on the daviscountyky.org website. And that's something that I know folks generally are glad to be able to get rid of stuff that you're not supposed to throw into your trash cans, your toters in the city, and haul off yourself if you're in the county. And I guess without further business, we don't have a closed session. We don't have anything I'm missing. All right. Without further business, this meeting is adjourned.